Hi, welcome to my Care Collab video for RLC Jimmeny Cricket. This is a collaboration with Fernanda Nascimento of Fernanda Nascimento Orchids and Succulents. And so I'd like to thank Fernanda for thinking about me for this collaboration. So we both have some great Jimmeny Crickets. So I hope you will go and visit her channel and her video. I'll put the link in the description below as soon as it becomes available. But if not, please go to her channel, which I'll also put in my description, and have a look. So RLC Jimmeny Cricket is one of the oldest orchids in my collection. It is a primary hybrid cross between Brassavola nodosa and Rhyncholalea digbyana. This orchid has been highly awarded I believe, in the 1980s. And it's not surprising considering that its flowers are among the largest in the nodosa hybrid family, if you will. And Jimmeny Cricket I bought in 2012 from Clouds Orchids here in Canada. And it was bought as a middle seedling. So despite being a middle seedling, it actually bloomed the following summer. So that was unusual in itself. But then the plant didn't flower for like about 3 years after that. I don't know what was missing in its culture, but it grew pseudobulbs, but it didn't want to bloom. But afterwards, every year, the plant flowered every single year, and it blooms on almost every single pseudobulb that it produces. So this plant is extremely prolific, as you could see. Initially, I think it grew just maybe 1 or 2 pseudobulbs a year, but now I think it's more like 5 or 6. But I think last year its last pseudobulbs kind of ran out of energy, so those were produced in October, and I think at least one of them did not bloom. Eventually I'll have to face the fact that this plant's gonna have to be removed from this pot, probably for a good repot. But for now, I'm gonna be just taking small sections off of it, like I did with this one, because this piece here was actually outside the pot. So since I divided it, I think I did this about a month ago, and I only did this because I considered this as an emergency, and it's really a backup in case something goes wrong with my plant. The winter months are a lot harder on my orchids, and seemingly healthy orchids can go in no time. So I think, as this is probably the most important plant in my collection. It's one of my oldest plants in my collection, and so I thought this getting at least a bit of the plant in another pot to save it as a backup was important to me. So I noticed recently that this plant, even though it hasn't been fertilized for the last 4 or 5 months, because they're more or less dormant in winter, but I did notice recently that the plant is coming back to life. As you could see there in the middle, there are some roots here. The larger the pseudobulbs, chances are the more flowers per spike you're going to have. So as for light, this plant likes it very bright. Maybe it'll probably bloom in less light, I don't know, but I'm in a southwest window, so that's why these leaves are always tinted with a bit of red, as they're getting a lot of light now. I mean, the days are getting longer, and that's the result. So that's what you're aiming for, basically, is to make it as happy as possible. And I did notice that the roots are that much more happy with the CalMag. And I bought some CalMag after watching so many other videos of people using CalMag, and it is extremely beneficial for these cattleyas. It is actually true what they say. I think this is going to be a successful repot for this division, and that's really good news for me. Now for flowers, as you can see, this one's not in bloom right now. But as soon as the pseudobulbs get going, there is usually a sheath, and within the sheath is a spike. So as you can see, this little white part here is the sheath, and it will emerge, and you can actually see the number of buds through the sheath. Since we are February, it's still kind of early, but I could expect this plant to start blooming in April or May. That would be the schedule for this plant, and with every consecutive pseudobulb, there should be more flowers. Of course, it's quite the show when you have more than one pseudobulb making spikes, and then each spike making multiple flowers. So now, as for the flowers, flowers are very, very large. They're probably maybe 4 or 5 inches across. And perhaps the only downside to this is that, unlike its cousin Little Stars, where the flowers last for, well, mine are well over a month now, so they're probably going over to 6 weeks or something. Jimmeny Cricket's flowers last, in the best of conditions, probably about 3 weeks. That's it. But the flowers become fragrant almost the day they open, and they stop being fragrant near the end of the flowering. So, but that's about really the only downside. But having said that, as soon as the flowers fade, there's probably another pseudobulb that's ready to bloom. Now, another thing to mention is that apparently not all Jimmeny crickets are scented. I've had a few people telling me that they're not scented. It's possible, because I have an adosa that is initially scented when it first opened, when the flowers open, and beyond that, no scent. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful, and thank you for watching, and happy growing.